and welcome to Get Booked with Jennifer and Mary. I am Mary, your friendly neighborhood librarian, and this is Jennifer, our other friendly neighborhood librarian. Today we're going to talk about books that are adaptations of classic works. So Jennifer, would you like to go first? What do you got?
Yes. So, anyone who knows me knows that I'm a big Jane Austen fan. And one of my first Jane Austen adaptations was, of course, Bridget Jones's Diary, which was amazing and funny and super great. I actually read it when I was in England doing a abroad semester in college, and so I got to read the English version, which was way better, just because it was more normal. I actually am, you can see my bookmark, that's where I am in this one, Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors. And it is an Indian-American story. The Elizabeth Bennet is Trisha, and she is a surgeon. She's brilliant. She's also the black sheep of the family, and she has a chance to redeem herself. So we'll see how that turns out. Darcy of the story is a chef. His name is DJ, and I am right at the part where they're meeting for the first time, and of course it's going terrible. So I can't wait to finish this one. This one is my bedtime read. I like to read a nice romance before bedtime. It just makes the world a better place. And then this one is an Emma adaptation. It's called Off Script. It's by Kate Watson. It is about a girl named Emma who just finished her first year of college. She is a teen Hollywood movie star, and she's going back home. The Knightley of this story is Liam, and he is a soccer player, the professional soccer player. So we'll see what he has to say about her when her matchmaking gets out of hand.
Gee, you were into Emma. No way.
So I found out about Jane Austen because of Emma and Clueless.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
I feel like,
oh,
that's how we became friends, was talking about Clueless. Could be.
as if.
It's one of my favorite adaptations. It's the best. So I have, whoops, just kidding, Cody Kleplinger's Shutout. This is a modern adaptation of Aristophanes' Lysistrata, which most people probably have not read unless you're an English lit major in college, because usually this was included in your classic and world lit classes. The original Lysistrata is an anti-war piece in which the women of, I'm blanking on which city, it might have been Sparta, it's not Sparta, I can't remember. Anyway, they go, they shut out the whole city, and they go on strike. Like, they refuse to have sex with all of the men until like they figured out their warring ways and there's peace. So in this modern adaptation, Lyssa is dating one of the football players, and there's a huge rivalry at the high school between the football and the soccer team, to the point where like Lyssa and her boyfriend are making out in his car, and their car gets egged. And so Lyssa and other girlfriends from like both teams were just like, you know what, we're going on strike. You don't get any more hookups until you can figure out your stuff. And I love Cody Kleplinger. She wrote The Duff, which is one of my favorites. So whenever you read her stuff, it's always going to be snarky and funny, which I really appreciate in a read. And she also did another adaptation of Midsummer Night's Dream, which I haven't read, called Midsummer's Nightmare, which is supposed to be pretty good too. So we can find another one. What do you got?
I like that one a lot. It was good. So my other one is Little Women, that I absolutely love. I haven't read this one yet. It's on my, also on my nightstand. But it's an adaptation of Little Women. It's called More to the Story. I like the author's previous book, which was Amina's Voice. And in this one, the Jo March character is Jamala, and she is in 7th grade, and she wants to be a journalist. And her editor is not letting her do any of the assignments that she wants to do, but she needs to do an amazing piece to get this award. And her dad, instead of going off to war, is going off to on a job that he needs to leave the country for 6 months. So her and her sisters and Little Women, oh, I love Little Women.
I also had a Little Women book, and I left it in my office, but I can book talk it real quick.
Oh, that one was really good too.
Yeah, so it's a middle grade YA graphic novel. I think it kind of straddles both. Like, I would give it to a 9th grader as easily as I would give it to like a 6th grader. So it's called Meg, Jo, Beth, and Amy. The artwork is very, very good. It's in the style of like what we're seeing between like Raina Telgemar and Svetlana Chomakova, and so it's very cute. But in this take, Little Women, they are a blended family. So Meg and her dad are black, and Joe and her mom are white, and so the parents met, and they blended. Like Meg and Joe were like really little, and you get all this in like flashbacks. So their dad is and of course Beth and Amy are products of the marriage, and it's just a really heartwarming book. They live in Brooklyn, in New York City. It's updated to modern times. Their dad is in Afghanistan. He's a soldier. And it's cool because we get their letters and emails back and forth, but it also gives you more background. And of course, in this one, like Joe has a big secret. It's not that much of a secret if you know Little Women, but it's a modern adaptation. But there's some things in it that change from the original story that are kind of updated for modern times. It also deals with a little bit with racism because Amy gets picked on at school, but she knows she can't fight back because the other kid is white and she's black, and she'll have more serious repercussions. But at the same time, you also have like really silly and funny things. And Laurie's also in it too, and there's block parties, and there's all kinds of stuff, and it's really, really good. And it's also very heartwarming, but not as tear-jerking, which personally, like if you're reading stuff during this time, I appreciated that, and I won't spoil it. But like it's just a heartwarming, like positive read.
Yeah, it was really good.
Cool, what do you got next?
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, it's my turn. Want me to go twice?
Yeah.
We'll go twice. Haha. So my other book was not on the shelf right now. It's called Nancy Drew and the Palace of Wisdom. This is a graphic novel adaptation that's been updated. It's written by Kelly Thompson, who's one of my favorite comic writers. She wrote a lot of X-Men stuff that's really great and funny. And then she also recently, I'm currently reading her new version of Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, which is kind of like a bridge between the old Sabrina the Teenage Witch and the Chilling Adventures. So it's a little creepy, but it's not like scary, like it won't give you nightmares like the Chilling Adventures will. But it's a good update. But with her new Nancy Drew, she updated all the characters. So Nancy had been out of town, and then she comes back to solve a mystery, essentially. And then like what's also adorable is the Hardy Boys are in it, and Beth gets a crush on one of the Hardy Boys, which they're like, you know, there's a great scene where they're like supposed to be like working together and they're making out. They're like, well, we're just kidding, we're on the case. And like Joe has a girlfriend. Was it Joe? Was the other best friend? I think so. The one that is judo from the old school. I am blanking. I apologize. So she has a girlfriend, so that was also updated. But it's really good, and the artwork's great.
George. It's George.
Thank you. Right, it's George.
It's George and Bess.
Right.
Are the best friends.
That's right. Sorry about that.
Okay.
It's not like I'm even watching the CW Nancy Drew show, because I am.
Which is good.
Yeah, so, I mean, a lot of us love Nancy Drew from, like, childhood. I mean, we were, like, my babysitter, Rebecca Lee, is showing me her first collection, and I started reading it. But, like, the new one is a totally great update, and you can give it, I would easily give it to, like, an 8th grader, as well as, like, someone who's in their 30s, because it's a fun mystery.
It was fun. I like it.
I know, I wish they would make more of them, but they've only made that first collection so far.
Sad.
Dang. Oh yes, I'm going to keep going because we have a theme that we're going to hit on. So my next pick is Ryan North's Romeo and or Juliet. Ryan North, some people might be familiar from him from Dinosaur Comics, which is a long-running webcomic he did for years. He also is the writer behind Squirrel Girl, which is a Marvel comic that is hilarious. If you love puns, it's a great comic for anyone, really. I give it to kids all the time. So Romeo and or Juliet, Ryan North decided, what if we did a choose your own adventure for adults that's also Shakespeare? So Romeo and Juliet could die, they could live, they could go off with Friar Tuck, like anything could possibly happen. He also wrote another one of these, which I've been trying to find for the library, but it's out of print, called To Be and or Not To Be by Hamlet. Hamlet, that one ends, Hamlet goes off with a bunch of pirates and sails the 7 seas. Like, they're super funny. It's kind of like a graphic novel, and it's also kind of like a textbook, or written book as well. So these are fun reads for dark times, I guess you would say.
All right, last but not least, we have some Camelot books. So mine are the Camelot Code. The first one is The Once and Future King, and the second one is Geeks and Holy Grail. This is by Marian Mancusi. She's written YA. This is kind of like a middle grade-ish, I would say anywhere between 4th and 7th grade for these. And Sophie and her best friend Stu have been playing this game, and they get this message brings them to Camelot. They, of course, have to save Camelot. Arthur, meanwhile, goes back to their time. Arthur becomes a football player. He loves it. He doesn't want to go back to Camelot because Camelot is terrible and people are trying to kill him. So that's in this book. And in this book, the team again pair up with Sophie's stepsister-to-be and a little dragon, which is a long story, and they end up in Vegas, which is hilarious and terrible, and they're trying to find Merlin in Vegas, and of course they go to the Excalibur Hotel, and that is just a huge issue. But if you like Arthurian legends, this is a great way to get into it.
Cool, thank you. My last book is also an Arthurian legend. This one is an LGBT Arthurian space opera. It is probably one of the most fun queer reads I have ever read in the YA books. And we've gotten some good YA books that have come out that are LGBT, but a lot of times they're like coming out stories or like, there's a lot of angst because it's a YA book. This does have angst in it because they're still teenagers. They're all like 17 and 18, but it's so good. So in this story, Aria it's gender bent. So Aria is the reincarnation of King Arthur. And Merlin wakes up one day and he's like, no, not again. You find out that the whole Arthur story has been this complete cycle because they've never been able to complete the prophecy. And there are some, like Merlin had like talks his way, like as you read, you get the whole story of like Arthur's past. And like he's just like not really excited about doing this. Like he's like, yeah, here's a quest, you have a sword, you save the world. Like he's very, I'm so over this because I've never been able to complete the prophecy and all of my Arthurs die and like it's horrible. And then Morgana, his sister, shows up, or Arthur's sister shows up, and she's always trying to kill Merlin. So there's some like a little bit on the run. And the big bad in the story is actually, it's like an Amazon-like company that owns everything, including planets. And so they're kind of like the big overarching thing. And Aria is actually, she's a space orphan. Her mom's picked her up with Kay. Well, sorry, their mom's, like Kay is not her biological brother, just like in the regular Arthur thing. And I'm losing the thread of this, my apologies. It's a very big, complicated story, but it's very good. This is the first book of a duology. But anyway, Aria is from a civilization that stood up to the Amazon-like corporation, and then they pretty much like blasted them. Like they did some type of like bioweapon, and like that whole planet, you can't go there, it's blocked off in space, it doesn't exist anymore. And so it's pretty much about her trying to like wrestle with the whole idea of like, I'm the chosen one, I'm just some like teenager in space, like what do you mean, and why am I only able to pick up this sword? That's not cool. And then they end up like taking refuge in basically what is a planet that is one giant Renaissance festival, which of course is where Guinevere and the rest of the Knights of the Round Table come into play. And of course she and Guinevere have like a thing because that's how it goes. And Arthur, and is the whole time Merlin is just like, yes, we can do this. And I'm like, no, I have existential angst. This has never worked out for me before. What makes me think? So he goes back and forth. But it's really good. It's really funny. And then it ends on a cliffhanger because, of course, it ends on a cliffhanger because book 2 just came out. So that's my picks.
Nice. So lots of good picks. Oh, I have to show my socks because they're my Pride and Prejudice socks.
Of course, you have Pride and Prejudice socks.
Doesn't everybody have Pride and Prejudice socks?
No, I do have Harry Potter socks, though.
Oh yeah, me too.
I know.
Stay tuned for next week, see what we'll be talking about next.
Who knows?